Dear friends, this is episode number 37. In this episode, we will be dealing with first section 94, supplemental proceedings. And thereafter, we will go to section 35, 35A, 35B and section 95 together as one set. This is section 94 separate. So let us see section 94. See the wording. In order to prevent the ends of justice from being defeated, the court may, if it is so prescribed. So what is the purpose? Purpose is to prevent the ends of justice from being defeated. So it is necessary to secure the ends of justice, for which the courts are given several powers. And this section specifically provides that from preventing the ends of justice from being defeated, if it is so prescribed, the court may exercise the following powers. A to E are the powers mentioned in section 94. This is a reservoir of very many powers. Now let us see. If it is so prescribed. A. Issue a warrant to arrest the defendant, that is pending suit, defendant, and bring him before the court to show cause why he should not give security for his appearance, and if he fails to comply with any order for security, commit him to civil prison. And this is prescribed in Order 38. Order 38 is arrest and attachment before judgment. 38. Arrest and attachment before judgment. Then clause A specifically is intended to cover rules 1 to 4 of Order 38. That is arrest before judgment. We have seen the arrest and detention after the judgment is passed in execution. There are provisions also which we will deal with, that a person can be arrested and detained for some other purpose in the course of execution, even pending suit, if an injunction is violated or something like that. There are various powers for the court to arrest and detain a person for the period mentioned there. Now this is a specific power, arrest and attachment before judgment. That is, a reference is to be made to Order 38, Rules 1 to 4. Now clause B, direct the defendant to furnish security, to produce any property belonging to him, and to place the same at the disposal of the court, or order attachment of any property. There the reference that you may refer to Order 38, Rules 5 to 13. 5 starts attachment before judgment. So arrest and attachment before judgment is covered by Order 38. Here in 94, Rules 1 to 4 is covered by Clause A, and 5 to 13 are covered by Clause B of Section 94. Then C, grant a temporary injunction, and in case of disobedience, commit the person guilty thereof to the civil prison, and order that his property be attached and sold. Temporary injunction. And if it is disobeyed, the person concerned can be put in prison, his property can be attached. Where do we get the powers? The powers are in Order 39, Rules 1 to 5. Order 39, Rules 1 to 5. Clause D, appoint a receiver of any property and enforce the performance of his duties by attaching and selling his property. Receiver is an officer of the court. A receiver can be attached. A property can be put in the possession of a receiver. And they enforce the performance of his duties by attaching and selling his property. That is, you will get it in order 40. E. Make such other interlocutory orders as may appear to the court to be just and convenient. Please refer to Order 39, Rules 6 to 10. This is the scheme of Section 94. Very many powers are available to the court, and those powers are, the source of power is Section 94. Then the powers are prescribed in various orders, Order 38, Order 39, Order 40. So along with this 94, we have to consider Order 38, Order 39 and Order 40. We will deal with those orders separately. But whenever those orders are considered, you have to remember that this power is referable to Section 94. Now we will see Section 35, 35A, 35B and Section 95. 35A, 35B and Section 95. Long sections. 35 Cost. Subject to such conditions and limitations as may be prescribed, and to the provisions of any law for the time being in force. The cause of and incident to all suits shall be in the discretion of the court. Cause always in the discretion of the court. And the court shall have full power to determine by whom or out of what property and to what extent such costs are to be paid, and to give all necessary directions for the purpose aforesaid. The fact that the court has no jurisdiction to try the suit shall be no bar to the exercise of such powers. So the court has power to order costs, notwithstanding that at a later point of time it holds that it has no jurisdiction to try the suit. If the court, having no jurisdiction also, has got the power to, has got the necessary jurisdiction to pass an order to pay costs. Now, it is in the discretion of the court. How that discretion is to be exercised, there are judicial pronouncements. Where the court directs that any cost shall not follow the event, the court shall state its reasons in writing. That is a limitation to the power. When we read 35(1), it is always discretion. Discretion can be exercised in any manner the court thinks fit. It is not so. So a suit is there. Suit costs are incurred. Payment of court fee, advocate fee, stamp on very many things, petitions, etc. Commission bata. So many expenses may be incurred. All these are covered as costs. Costs of the suit. And that will be certified if a party, the plaintiff, all right, the suit is decreed with costs. The court says so. Within 7 days, the plaintiff has to submit the list of his costs, and the court will go through it and finalize it and certify the cost. Then that cost can be recovered from the opposite party who is bound by the decree. That is a cost of the suit. Then there are certain proceedings, special proceedings, where separate costs are there, and it is provided that that will not form part of the cost in the suit. That is different. Here, when a suit is disposed of, subsection 2 says that where the court directs that any cause shall not follow the event, the court shall state its reasons in writing. What is cause following the event? I am the plaintiff, you are the defendant. My suit was decreed. I have incurred costs. I have paid the necessary court fee. I have to engage a lawyer, I have engaged a lawyer. Advocate fee which is as per rules, whichever is available. Not the whole fee which I might have paid. But there is a scale for it. That is as per the rules. What is advocate fee that I will get. And all the incidental expenses which are certified by the court. See, if a commissioner is appointed, the commissioner's bata also will form part of costs. And where the court directs that any cause shall not follow the event. What is the cause following the event? I said I am the plaintiff, you are the defendant. My suit is decreed. Cause follow the event. I must get cause. But the court must say that it is decreed with cause. And if the court is inclined not to award cause, say suit is decreed in such and such manner. However, no order as to cause, or the parties shall suffer their cause. Likewise, any sentence can be written which will indicate that I am not entitled to the cause. Then reasons must be stated why the cause did not follow the event. So the discretion is there for the court, but that discretion is circumscribed by subsection 2. That when the court is not granting the cause, or court is not granting a decree where the cause will follow the event, then the court has to give special reasons, its reasons in writing, why it is deviating. Now, the normal rule is that the court should award cause to the successful party. That is a normal rule. 35A, compensatory cause in respect of false or vexatious claims or defenses. So claims and defenses are covered by this. Cause covered by 35 is different from 35A, compensatory cause. Let us see the wording. If in any suit or other proceeding, including an execution proceeding, here 35 reference is made to suits. Here compensatory cause, suits or other proceedings, including an execution proceeding. But excluding an appeal or revision. Appeals and revisions are outside the purview of 35A. Any party objects to the claim or defense on the ground that the claim or defense or any part of it is as against the objector, false or vexatious, to the knowledge of the party by whom it has been put forward. And if thereafter, as against the objector, such claim or defense is disallowed, abandoned or withdrawn, in whole or in part, the court, if it so thinks fit, may, after recording its reasons for holding such claim or defense to be false or vexatious, make an order for the payment to the objector by the party by whom such claim or defense has been put forward of cause by way of compensation. So either party can be made liable to pay compensatory costs. So claim or defense is covered by the section 35A, and such claim or defense must be objected by the other party, saying that this is false or vexatious to the knowledge of the other party. So I put forward, I am the plaintiff, I put forward a claim. You are the defendant. You say my claim in the suit is false or vexatious to my knowledge, and you must specifically ask for compensatory costs in the written statement or otherwise. Then the court will consider it, and if my claim is disallowed, if my claim is allowed, that is clear that it is not false or vexatious, otherwise the court will not grant it, and then my claim is disallowed, abandoned or withdrawn. Abandonment and withdrawal comes under Order 23. What is that? I can abandon a suit whenever I like with certain consequences. I can withdraw a suit. Withdrawal in two types. Withdrawal with the permission of the court and withdrawal without the permission of the court with its consequences. So these three contingencies, claim or defense. I am the plaintiff. I make a claim. You are the defendant. You say that this claim is false or vexatious to my knowledge, and I lose the case. Then the court, I lose the case, I am defeated, my suit is dismissed, or I abandon the suit, or I have withdrawn the suit, these three contingencies. Then what will happen? The court, if it so thinks fit, may, after recording its reasons for holding such claim or defense to be false or vexatious, make an order for payment to the objector, that is you, by the party by whom such claim or defense has been put forward, that is by me, of course by way of compensation. So I put forward a claim, I am the plaintiff, you are the defendant. You object to the claim on the ground that it is false or vexatious to my knowledge, and my claim is disallowed, abandoned or withdrawn. Then the court will consider whether it is necessary to grant compensatory costs to you. The court will consider that question. And if the court, if so thinks fit, and after recording its reasons for holding such claim or defense to be false or vexatious, make an order for payment of compensatory costs by you to me, for payment to the objector by the party by whom such claim or defense has been put forward. If my claim is disallowed, compensatory costs must be paid to you. If my claim is allowed and your defense, I am saying that it is false or vexatious, I am entitled to compensatory costs. I think I have committed a mistake just formerly 2 or 3 sentences before. You are objecting. You are saying that my claim is false or vexatious to my knowledge. My claim is disallowed. The court finds that my claim was false or vexatious to my knowledge. The court may award compensatory costs to you, the objector, from me. I think I have made clear. There was some, it was not so clear in the 2 or 3 sentences by a slip of tongue. I think I have committed a mistake, but please correct it. Cost by way of compensation. Reasons must be stated. Court must find if the claim is disallowed, abandoned or withdrawn. Likewise, the defense is disallowed, abandoned or withdrawn. You put forward a defense in my suit. I say that your defense is false or vexatious to your knowledge, and you lose in the case. My suit is decreed, and the court finds that your defense was false or vexatious to your knowledge. Then I am entitled to compensatory costs from you, which the court may think fit after recording its reasons. 2. No court shall make such order for payment of an amount exceeding 3,000 rupees or exceeding the limits of its pecuniary jurisdiction, whichever amount is less. So the maximum amount is 3,000 rupees, which is very low. Even that is an amendment. In 1976, it was before 1976, it was 1,000 rupees. In 1999, Section 95 was amended. But the lawmakers did not think it fit to raise this amount of 3,000 rupees. 3,000 is nothing nowadays. At the time in 1976, what was the value of 3,000? Now what is the value of the 3,000? It should have been enhanced, but it was not done. Probably there may be reasons for it. Now maximum 3,000 rupees. Then proviso, that is small cause courts, etc. You need not worry about it. Provided further that, second proviso, provided further that the High Court may limit the amount which any court or class of courts is empowered to award as cause under this section. That is also not very relevant. 3. No person against whom an order has been made under this section shall, by reason thereof, be exempted from any criminal liability in respect of any claim or defense made by him. Some claim or defense may attract criminal liability. In my suit, you make a very defamatory statement, which was absolutely unnecessary. And your defense was disallowed, that means my claim was allowed. It was found that the defense is false or vexatious to your knowledge, and a compensatory cost is awarded. But you have committed defamation, for which you are liable in civil or criminal action. So simply because that compensatory cost has been awarded under 35A does not exempt you who made that false or vexatious defense from any criminal liability. I can still initiate criminal action against you in respect of any claim or defense made. It applies to claim as well as defense. The amount of any compensation awarded under this section in respect of a false or vexatious claim or defense shall be taken into account in any subsequent suit for damages or compensation in respect of such claim or defense. That is same example. In my suit, you put forward a false or vexatious claim. You made defamatory statements against me. My suit was decreed and it was found that your defense is false or vexatious, and compensatory cost was awarded against you. That will not absolve you from criminal liability, we have seen in Subrule 3, subsection 3. It will not fully absolve you from civil liability also, but when I file a suit against you for compensation, for damages for defamation, then the amount awarded here shall be taken to account. The amount of compensation awarded under this section in respect of such false or vexatious claim or defense shall be taken to account in any subsequent suit for damages or compensation in respect of such claim or defense. So the claim or defense makes the party as such, the respective parties, for any criminal or civil action. If it is a criminal action, simply because that compensatory cost was awarded against him does not absolve him from criminal liability. Civil liability also he is not absolved, but the amount awarded here will be taken into account for the purpose of in the subsequent suit for damages. Shall be taken into account in any subsequent suit or damages in fixing the compensation. Yes. Now 35B, cause for causing delay. If on any date fixed for the hearing of a suit or for take any step therein. A party to the suit fails to take the step which he was required by or under this code to take on that date. What is that? A day is fixed for hearing of a suit or for taking any step therein. Steps have to be taken appropriate time. A party to the suit fails to take the step which he was required by or under this code, or obtains an adjournment for taking such steps or for producing evidence or on any other ground. So either there is a failure to take the necessary steps or obtains an adjournment. The party who was ordered to take steps or do something obtains an adjournment for taking steps or producing evidence or on any other ground. Then what will happen? The court may, for reasons to be recorded, make an order requiring such party to pay to the other party such costs as would, in the opinion of the court, be reasonably sufficient to reimburse the other party in respect of the expenses incurred by him in attending the court on that date and payment of such costs on the date next following the date of such order shall be a condition precedent to the further prosecution of. So we will go to again to subsection 1. A date on any date fixed for hearing of the suit or for taking any step therein. If on any date fixed for hearing of the suit or for taking any step therein, a party to the suit failed to take the step which he was required, or obtains an adjournment for taking such steps or for producing the evidence, the court may award costs. What costs? Costs for causing delay. What is that? Reasons must be recorded. Pass an order requiring such party. Which party? I am the plaintiff, I was directed to take certain steps on a particular day. Case was posted to that date. You are under the impression that that case will be taken up on that day. You are coming from Delhi. You come here. On that day, I get an adjournment. For no reason, some reason, lame excuse. And the court can award real costs to you. It is not a nominal cost of 100 rupees, 200 rupees like that. What is that cost? Make an order requiring such party to pay to the other party such costs as would, in the opinion of the court, be reasonably sufficient to reimburse the other party. It must be reasonably sufficient to reimburse the other party in respect to the expenses incurred by him in attending the court on that date, and payment of such costs on the next following date of such order shall be a condition precedent for the following AB. So that costs should be paid before the next posting date, next following date. And for what? For the further prosecution of the suit by the plaintiff, where the plaintiff was ordered to pay such costs. Plaintiff was ordered to pay such costs. He does not pay. And shall be a condition precedent to the further prosecution of the suit by the plaintiff. So the suit cannot be proceeded with unless you comply with the payment of costs. The defense of the defendant, where the defendant was ordered to pay costs. So a payment of this cost shall be a condition precedent to the further prosecution of the suit or defense. If there is no defense, the suit will be decreed. So it is as if there is no defense, just like defense is struck off or something like that. Explanation. Where separate defenses has been raised by the defendants or group of defendants, payment of such costs shall be a condition precedent to the further prosecution of the defense by such defendants or group of defendants as have been ordered by the court to pay such costs. So this is also called day costs. Cost for causing delay. It is real costs. That cost must be paid to the party who is ordered to pay it. And it shall be a condition precedent for his further prosecution of his suit if he is the plaintiff, and further prosecution of the defense if he is the defendant. The costs ordered to be paid under subsection 1 shall not, if paid, be included in the costs awarded in the decree passed in the suit. See, you are directed to pay the costs under this section. You paid the costs. That will not be costs in the suit. See, I was awarded a cost of 5,000 rupees for, I was awarded to pay a cost of 5,000 rupees to you for getting an adjournment unnecessarily. I paid it. That payment will not constitute it a cost in the suit. That means even if the suit is ultimately decreed, I will not get this amount from you. If it is a cost in the suit, I can realize that cost from you if the suit is decreed with cost. But this will not form part of cost of the suit. That means here it is defaulting party has to pay it. Pay it before the next posting date. Unless it is done, if he is a plaintiff, he will not be allowed to prosecute his suit. If he is a defendant, his defense cannot be proceeded with. So the cost ordered to be paid under subsection 1 shall not, if paid, be included in the costs awarded in the decree passed in the suit. But if such costs are not paid, a separate order shall be drawn up indicating the amount of such costs and the names and address of the persons by whom such costs are payable, and the order so drawn up shall be executable against such persons. So I was directed to take certain steps on a particular day. The suit was posted to that date. I did not do it. I sought an adjournment unnecessarily. No reasons. The court directed me to pay the real costs incurred by you for your appearance on that date, expenses incurred by you in attending the court. Say for example 5,000 rupees. I pay it so that there is no other hindrance, but I cannot recover that amount from you as even if I succeed in the suit. That will not constitute the cost in the suit. Suppose I do not pay, an order will be passed by the court, which is an executable order. You can execute that order against me, realize that amount by any of the modes of execution which we have dealt with earlier, by arrest and detention, by attachment of property, whatever it is. So an executable order will be, I was directed to pay you for dilatory tactics by getting an adjournment 5,000 rupees to you. I have to pay before the next posting date. I do not pay. The court will pass an order empowering you to recover that amount from me by execution. So it is an executable order. Now we have covered 35B also. We will see 95 also. Then I will refer to the other points. We will see in the next episode. Thank you.